welcome to This Just In with This Just In. As your host, Justin Core, this is a show where we take a deeper dive into the issues most important to you with the people who bring you those stories. The person joining us today, a return correspondent, one of our original guests. Look, it's anchor Brenda Rodriguez, and I can't pronounce that as well as you. Really put that extra oomph into Rodriguez. I apologize for that. Never been able to roll my R's. But B-Rod, how are you?
Oh, I am doing well. Thank you so much. It's always great to join you on your show, on your fantastic show. So thank you.
Always great. Yeah. She was one of the first guests. We had a few technical issues. Those are all ironed out now. This is going to be super smooth. We'll see. You have a game show for me.
Yes.
At the end of the show. But let's start with some trivia right now. For me, again, to see if I can name all of the responsibilities you have here at KTVB. You're looking at me like you don't believe I can, which you're probably right. So you are an anchor most of the time on the noon and the Saturday morning news and the 4 p.m. And then also you're a reporter, but also a multimedia journalist, but also you have pretty much every responsibility as far as producer, reporter, MMJ, and anchor goes with KTVB Espanol.
That's absolutely right. You
Did I
nailed
miss
it. Yes,
anything?
you
Oh my
did a
gosh.
great job. Yes, I am tired already hearing all of that, but yes.
Feel free to just take a nap, and then I'll just talk this whole time.
This is actually relaxing time for me right now. It's a little bit of a break.
We'll
fantastic.
See. Yeah. You do amazing work, really interesting stories, no matter what you're up to, and you did really a fascinating story about undocumented immigrants in this community. About a month ago, you talked to folks who are undocumented. They're working and they're living here in Idaho. Let's just jump right into it. What spoke to you about this story? Why did you think this story was needed?
Well, we hear about immigration on the national level, especially it's been heightened this year, and here locally as well. If we're being honest, we hear the word immigration, but I think that we have forgotten that when we hear the word undocumented, we don't really put a face to that. And I think it's really important to remember that, yes, this might be a controversial issue on a national stage, local stage here as well, but these at the end of the day are humans. They're people, and they are rarely a part of the conversation. So I felt that it was important and it was time for them to give their 2 cents, or really just tell their story of what they're doing here and why it's important for them to contribute to their local society here.
Yeah. And these folks really being targeted even more nowadays. How did you convince them to talk to you about this?
I think that it has been easier having KTVB in Espanol, having a platform where you are seeing yourself on a more regular basis when it comes to local issues, local topics, celebrations. And I think it's made it a little bit softer and a little bit more community-like when it comes to our reporters here at KTVB in Espanol and our community. So I almost felt like I was going to have a little bit more of an issue to try to get them to speak, but it felt like they were ready to speak and ready to be a part of the conversation that they felt like they weren't included in. But yeah, and also just to include, I am from Idaho. I'm a Latina in Idaho, and we're very close-knit in whatever part of Idaho you are in. And we treat each other like family, so we know a little bit more of what's going on in our communities. So it felt normal. It felt like it just had to be done.
Yeah, that you're part of that community.
Yeah.
They could trust you to give them a fair, objective shake and tell that story. So we're going to roll the story here in a second unless you needed to set it up more.
No, we're good.
Alrighty, Ani, let's see it.
Que nosotros venimos a trabajar, no venimos a pedirle ayuda.
Ricardo's like many immigrants, pursuing a promise of a better life here in America, and many of them come here to Idaho. Like Ricardo, he's been here for 2 decades.
I'm born in this country, and I'm gonna be a good guy for this country, and try to make everything good, and always do the right thing.
Doing the right thing for him was leaving behind a life of struggle. This is Ricardo's son. He was born with medical complications, and without health insurance, he was left to have to pay for care out of pocket.
My son, he's born in he's got pneumonia, bronchopneumonia, all right? And we need to pay like $15,000, and I have a 15 years old, 15, and we don't have that much money, you know, and my option is come to here and working hard. That's why we come here, you know.
I have only 18 years old, and I'm just like looking my personality, my like space on this world.
And for others like Natalia, who left Mexico 25 years ago at just 18, for her it was an opportunity for growth. She paved her own way by creating her own cleaning business that now employs Idahoans.
De limpieza, con todo lo que requiere la ley, con sus aseguranzas, con todo, dando trabajo normalmente a 6, 8 personas.
It's a business that helps fill positions that employers consider hard to fill. It's also true for Idaho's largest industry, agriculture, which is in part staffed by undocumented workers.
We started working in the fields, and after this, I'm working in gardening, landscaping.
We talked about the agriculture and cleaning industries, but immigrants also help staff the restaurant industries. Ricardo has been working at a restaurant for 18 years. Immigration is complex. Undocumented Idahoans know that it's a risk being here in the United States. It's one they're willing to take, but it comes with a big price: fear.
Trabajo, casa. Trabajo, casa. That's it. No vamos a ningún lado. ¿Por qué? Porque tenemos miedo. No salimos a ningún lado por el miedo que hay.
Yo prefiero tener ese 50% seguro de estar aquí porque sé que he hecho las cosas correctas.
I will rescue every town across America that has been invaded and conquered.
Under the new Trump administration, that anxiety has deepened.
I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
Con la nueva administración que viene, ¿cómo se anda preparando usted y su familia?
Sí, estamos preparándonos. Por ejemplo, ahora me toca hablar con mis hijas y decirles: aquí están los papeles de la casa, de esto, del otro. Para mí es mucha incertidumbre y muchísima ansiedad, mucha ansiedad, el saber que mi familia va a ser destruida por las ideas de una persona.
Kind of scary for my parents, because it's like, you know, like they're my parents. Like without them, like I don't know what I would do.
And it's fear being passed down to their children. Ricardo has a 15-year-old daughter. Her name is Cynthia, and she was born here in the United States. And although she is a citizen, she still fears being separated from her family, because at the end of the day, being here in the United States is all she knows.
But I know that I have my parents who came here for me to have a better education and a better life. My parents have given me more than anything, and it's so sad that I can't do anything about what they're going through.
Do you have other classmates that might be undocumented?
Yeah.
Are they in fear?
Yeah. Like we talk about it, and it's just so hard that we have to live like that, knowing that our family is at risk.
And that risk is heightened by stereotypes. Do you pay taxes?
Yes.
Do you live off of government assistance?
No, yo nunca he agarrado cheques de gobierno, nunca.
Do you feel like you're stealing jobs?
No, like que le quite trabajo a otros? Sí. No, because whatever I do, because nobody wants to do it.
And in an America with divided views, children of undocumented parents hope that the country sees what they see.
Like, I'm sorry. My people aren't criminals. They just want to live. They just want to live a good life. And they don't see that. And it makes me upset, because like there's nothing that no one can do. No one can do anything about it.
So, really powerful story there, Brenda. Thank you for that, and great job as always. Criticism of undocumented immigrants is that they're here to commit crimes. Ricardo says he just wants to work, and his day is like work, go home, and then work. But we have gotten a number of comments about your story when it aired. I looked back through some of those, and one of the comments that we got was, well, they can say they're not criminals, they're not here to commit crimes, but by them being here, isn't that a crime?
Yeah. Well, here's the and to add on to that. Well, first I should say this is a civil issue, right? It's not a a crime rather. So there's one misconception there. Another one is that one that we got often was, well, why don't they just do the right thing and just come here legally? And there's, I mean, you heard Ricardo's story talking about how he came here because he needed money.
Yeah.
And his son had a health issue there, so he needed money. Well, it takes money to go through the legal process, right?
Really? To get a work visa?
Yes, and you have to get a lawyer as well. So I think the biggest thing is that you have to have money to pay for those legal fees. You have to, and also there's misconception, right? Some people don't know how to get started. What is the process? And I think, but the biggest one is fear. Fear is knowing that you're going to go through the process, legal process, and you might get a no. That is the biggest thing people don't go through this process, is because they fear that they might not be able to go through with it, and the judges or the legal system have their information where they could possibly be deported.
Can we talk about the idea that Ricardo, the other people you talk to, are taking jobs away from other Idahoans? I talked to here recently as part of news, and even before that, when I was in PR, heard from the Idaho Dairymen's Association that nearly half of nearly all of their entire labor force is immigrant labor. A chunk of that is undocumented, but they say literally no, citizens, no one born in the United States applies for their jobs. Have you heard of high demand for, ag jobs or a job like Ricardo has?
Yeah, well, and we did a special last year on farm workers and farm workers and farmers, right? And the farming future of Idaho in general. And we heard farmers say, well, it's not as easy as people put it out to be. It's actually, we do try. We give Americans the opportunity to apply for these jobs, and they don't get the response that they need. So they do rely on undocumented workers to fulfill those jobs, which is very important for our state.
I mean, it's one of the backbone industries of our state. Yeah, absolutely. And they need to fill those jobs really to keep a lot of the communities, especially the rural communities, afloat. Another criticism is that people like Ricardo are mooching off the system. He says he pays taxes and he's never taken government assistance. Now, and this is just a clarification for me and maybe some people at home, if he is undocumented, it makes sense that he wouldn't get Social Security, but how does he pay taxes?
Well, he gets a paycheck, and those paychecks you have to remove.
Payroll tax.
Exactly. And when it comes to tax season, they still have to submit and go through the process just like we do in general. And when he talks about not receiving government assistance, he can't.
Right,
I think there is a misconception where people think that they do get this type of assistance, and they just truly cannot. So in a way, they're contributing to society. They're not really receiving any help because they can't, and they're still trying to make it work here in America.
Yeah, paying sales tax as well, certainly. And they're not getting those subsidies because, again, as you talked about, it's fear. They wouldn't want to show up, to the welfare office and be like, I'm looking for a check. It's like, well, who are you? And then, they go through that process of revealing their identity.
Exactly. And to them coming here, they don't want to make any mistakes. They don't want to give anyone a reason to believe that they are bad people, regardless of the misconceptions that we're seeing everywhere, right? On a national and local level. But truthfully, they're just trying to do the right steps and contribute to society, and it feels like that is overshadowed by a lot of the misconceptions.
Yeah. And I think that there are misconceptions out there. Again, some stereotypes, and the fact are there are cartels working throughout the United States and Mexico, but the percentage of the people working for those cartels, as part of the immigrant labor force in Idaho is like beyond minuscule. So to paint everyone with that brush, ill-conceived. Natalia even employs 6 to 8 people, more than a half a dozen people. She's creating jobs. What would be the plan? I guess continuing to get back to sort of the workforce idea, what would be the plan for farmers, ranchers, dairymen, other employers, restaurant owners, like we talked about, on what they would do if all of a sudden the 10,000 or more, I've heard estimated 10,000 or more undocumented workers in Idaho were deported?
Well, I think that's the big conversation right now. Just last week, we saw a couple forums with the agriculture industry, but also with lawyers and the Dairymen's Association.
Yeah.
I think that's just the conversation that we're having now. We don't know what's going to happen if all of a sudden all 10,000 of them were to disappear. We don't know what will happen to our economy, our industries in general. But truthfully, that's just an ongoing conversation. And I don't think that it's necessarily fear for those who are undocumented, but it's also fear for those who are taking space in the agriculture industry, in hospitality and restaurants, so forth. It's fear all around is what I'm getting from these conversations.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that the IDA, again, the dairymen, have been involved in this conversation for so many years means that they probably what they expect would happen if all of a sudden that huge, maybe even the majority of their workforce went away. It's like, well, how do we milk cows? How do we create Idaho's #1 export? Ricardo has been here 18 years. Is he worried now more than he has been in those past 18?
Well, one thing that I did notice from both of them, because they've been here for such a long time, I think more than half their life they've been here. And the biggest thing that I'm getting now is we already live like this. This is not anything new to us. Mm-hmm. It's just, yes, there's more conversation. Of course, there's extra fear when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, we're just tired of living in fear, and we're just living now. And I think that that's what we've been getting more so from the older generation. Now, when it comes to the kids, I do feel like there has been that heightened fear, and just because of their conversations that are also happening at schools. You heard Natalia talk about that as well.
Mm-hmm. And his daughter, born here, a U.S. citizen, she's worried about being separated. Is there also worry that maybe her citizenship could go away?
I don't think that that's a thought for them. Okay. No, I think more so is, what are you doing with my parents? And I can't live a life without them. I don't even know what a life without them would look like. So that's their thought process, but not necessarily losing their own citizenship.
Mm-hmm. Again, we can go to more sort of the reactions, some of the comments and questions that we got. We've talked about how people have said, well, they're here, they're breaking the law. I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel bad for these people who might have to be deported. How would you respond to that?
These are American kids that are being impacted. This is our community. And maybe if you don't feel bad for the parents, is there some sympathy that can go to those American children?
Right.
It's just a conversation. I know as journalists, we have to be
objective.
Yes, objective, and not really pick a side, right? But in this story specifically, we're only hearing from the undocumented community that has been left out from the conversation for a very, very long time. So I just feel like getting a glimpse of what they live on a daily basis it should be the route of us Idahoans or Americans. We should just be taking 1 ounce of their story and just being in their shoes for a little bit, just seeing how they live.
Yeah. I think it's important as well, if you don't have room for that empathy, that's fine, whatever. But go back, maybe watch a special, some of the other stories, or just talk to a dairyman or the Idaho Dairymen's Association, and they're going to, again, tell you why you should care about how, okay, we just need to sort of simplify or sort of streamline that work visa process, where you already said it takes so much money, it takes a certain amount of know-how just to even get into that process. I mean, you educated me just now that you needed a lawyer, that you needed all this money, just to be able to come here and work even seasonally as a non-citizen.
And you make such a good point. I mean, the undocumented community here, they are a part of our community. They are our neighbors. And yes, that community also impacts the general community in terms of the economy, socially, everything.
Yeah. And again, just people who are your neighbors. Yeah. Who you see at the store, who are a part of this community. You also got a lot of people just thanking you for doing the story. How'd that feel?
It felt worth it. It was very hard to hear these stories, and especially hearing the daughter talk. I get emotional every time just thinking about that and feeling or putting myself in their shoes for a little moment. I usually get really bad comments when I do stories like this or when I talk about controversial topics. I just know that that's what I should be expecting. But for the first time, I felt like it was more of a conversation. It wasn't just they're bad and they're illegal and they should just be out of here. It felt like a genuine conversation. People just took a quick little moment to be in their shoes, and it just made it worth it.
Yeah. That is very heartening to hear. I looked through some of the other comments as well, and it's like, well, if they're such a big part of the community, like, is there a way that they can, work here without necessarily being a citizen? And it's like, yes, it's called a work visa, but again, it takes these certain things and the IDA, again, trying to lead the charge to make, it easier for immigrants to come here and work, and for them, it includes a path to citizenship, and that's maybe a deal breaker for some.
And something to note, though, for work visas, they're temporary visits, right? So you're here for a certain amount of time, certain amount of months, and then you have to go back to your country. And the undocumented community, like we've seen today, is they've been here more than half their life. They cannot risk going back for just a couple months to a world that might not be familiar to them anymore.
Yeah. Or openly hostile, which is why they left in the first place.
Right.
Well, Brenda, thank you so much. Really appreciate. We're going to transition, but before we do, KTVB Espanol, how can people catch that?
Yeah, it's currently on our Facebook page. We are also streaming it on KTVB Plus, and if you want to send us a message, Facebook is the best option, which is just KTVB en Espanol. And we do have a news segment that airs Tuesdays and Fridays there. And it includes weather, sports, local news, interviews, conversations. We are busy over there, okay?
You are very busy. I very much appreciate you taking the time to come on This Just In also on KTVB Plus. So if you're already on the app that you downloaded to your TV, KTVB Plus, just surf around. You're going to see more stuff from Brenda. Also, that guy, I want to say Hector
Mendoza.
Sounds familiar. Yeah, I work with him every morning. He somehow has time for that as well. All right, let's dramatically change gears now. You hosted a special Valentine's Day game show with trivia questions on the news at 4. How did it go?
It went better than expected. It was put together maybe an hour before showtime. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to keep it honest here.
Sounds like this show.
But honestly, it was just so much fun. I think we need a little bit of that. We hear news, and sometimes it's not the best news. And we just wanted to keep it light on the news at 4. So, yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready for some?
Do you think I can do better than they all did?
I'm hopeful.
I'm not.
I'm hopeful. Do you want to give it a shot?
I'm not.
Should we try this?
Yes, please. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I'm not going to look this up on my phone.
Okay.
Well, please no.
Please don't. Yes, because I've already seen you look down a couple of times.
I'm just checking the time.
This is definitely not okay. Okay, so I have a couple written down for you.
Okay.
But
all right.
I'm going to just keep it simple, what we did on air. Did you watch the segment, the entire segment?
So,
say no.
Yes. No, I actually listened to the first question. I'm like, I shouldn't be watching this.
Okay, fine. All right, which Roman god is often associated with Valentine's Day?
Roman god or Greek god? Okay, hold on. Oh,
Roman.
jeez. Okay, so I'm tempted to say Aphrodite, but I don't know if that's Greek or Roman. Hold on. Hold on. I'm just gonna go with Aphrodite.
Cupid.
Of course it's Cupid.
Okay.
What is?
You do a lot of trending segments, or what do you call them in the morning? I keep forgetting.
Morning Brew.
Morning Brew.
I used to work on that show. How did you forget that?
All right. Okay. So, on average, what is the prices of roses this year? A rose bouquet. Let's say a dozen.
Okay. Great question. I actually looked this up. I am going to. How close do I have to
Looked
get?
it up. Well, that's not fair. Well,
No. I was going to maybe get a dozen roses for my wife, and then was like, you know what? I'm gonna get her. She likes other plants and flowers more. Okay. 90. How close do I have to be? Like.
Just spot on. You have to be
$92.
No.
No.
But you are close though. It's $90.50.
I think I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna give that to me.
What do you guys think?
I
Should we
was
give it to
within
him?
$2. Yes. Send your comments later. I got that right.
Okay, when you think about Valentine's Day,
Uh-huh.
what couple do you associate with Valentine's Day?
This is a trivia question?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
It's a famous couple.
Hold on. I'm gonna score some points. Me and my wife, Katie. I don't care if I got that wrong. It was worth it. Love you, Katie.
Yes. See, I don't even know. Like, what?
You don't know?
I can't. I do know. How do I go off of that?
How about Cleopatra and Mark Antony?
No.
Oh,
Well, close. Romeo and Juliet.
of course. Okay. Yes, that's better. That's better. All
Okay,
right.
last one here.
Is it the last one?
Yes,
Am I 0 for
last
4?
one.
I'm 0 for... No. I got that dozen roses
Okay,
one. Okay.
Valentine's Day and candy. What's the perfect pair there?
Oh, the perfect Valentine's candy? I mean, heart-shaped box of chocolates, right?
Chocolates, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you going.
Not-
About time.
So I got 2 of 5, 40%.
Good job.
That's failing.
I'd love to invite you to the next game show. We'll see how you do. On the spot.
4 o'clock. I'm close to getting in bed at that point, but appreciate it. Again, though, it was worth it to get that one intentionally wrong. Because, again, love you, Katie. Scoring some points. Thanks for helping
one's a
me
good
with that. Brenda, appreciate it. And, yeah, I mean, if you take that one out, really, I got half right.
You did good. I'm proud of you.
How did they all do on the floor?
I think the winner was Brady. Brady killed it. Now, he's the one that you want to have when you go on Family Feud, for sure.
Did he get like all of them right, or 4 or 5?
He got, I think, the majority of them right. I don't even know. I think there was 5. He got 4. No, he got 3, I think, right.
That's only one more than me. It's not that great, Brady.
We'll
You're not
invite
so
you
special.
for sure.
All right, you got comments or questions? You want to chide me about not being great at trivia? Text it to 208-321-5614. #JustIN. See you